It felt like a dead cylinder, the engine just blew up. But it wasn't that. And then somebody's wheel comes off in front of me. CTAC, Motorsports. Here's what happened. We went in confident as hell because of all the upgrades done to the car. Everything's fixed, it runs good. Either way, I was going into this event pretty confident because I was pretty focused on what I was setting out to do, and that actually is to set the record this time because I realized how close we got last time. 0.8 of a second at that track. Again, a little bit of aero and driver mod maybe, and the record should have been mine. But then we got humbled. So first session, I'm thinking, all right, I'm just gonna go out, set the winning lap already, like a 120 or something, or 119 even, and then go and set the record on lap 2. So that didn't happen. I went out, tried to start the very first lap, and then the map sensor hose comes off. So we reloaded, put the map sensor hose back on, of course, got the car ready for session 2, went out for session 2. The car broke up kind of weirdly on the out lap and a bit into the lap, but I didn't think much of it. So I just did a lap. I think I set a 121.5 based on my own timer. And then I was on a better lap, actually, and then I missed 2 gears, but it still would have been a better lap. And then somebody's wheel comes off in front of me. So they black flag the whole session, tell us to come off. So I come in the pits, I'm thinking like, all right, that's fine. That's already won the event with that time, only to find out that the transponder was not working. So that lap time just went into the abyss. I was kind of upset, but I'm like, all right, I'll just do the next session, I guess, right? So there was a couple red flags, a couple incidents on track, but then the session finally starts. And then the car's breaking up worse now, like really bad. Like can barely make it up the straight. I look at my dash and there's no voltage. Alternator light is flashing, the voltage is dropping like 9 volts when I turn the wheel because I got electric power steering. So I force it. The car was angry sounding and everything. I knew I was damaging some stuff with the way it was driving. Forced a lap and it was like a 128 point something, so that's like 16th overall for lap time. So I was pissed off because I didn't have a spare alternator. I brought my other car, but I didn't have the spare alternator on me to change, so I knew we were in for some work here basically. So here's where we are. My best time is a 128, even though I did go faster. The best recorded time on the transponder. And then the car needs an alternator and it's backfiring weirdly. I don't know what to make of this. So spend the evening pulling the alternator out of my daily. The evening because we started pulling the alternator out at the track because my daily was there at the track. But stripped it so bad I had to put it all back together and come home and use the impact gun to get the bolt out. So whatever, get some sleep. I didn't get much sleep because I was worried. I'm like, man, I only did a 128 and then I'm about to go back tomorrow. What if something else is wrong with the car? What if it wasn't actually the alternator? What if something's shorting? Blah, blah, blah. So whatever, I show up tired the next day. We show up tired, me and Alex. The other guys had to go because it's a Tuesday. We put the alternator in, I go out and the car is still breaking up. Voltage, everything is good, it's actually running better, but it's still breaking up on medium boost. So I just say screw it, I'm just gonna drive it because I don't know what else to do. Checked over everything a million times. I think I set a 121 and then a 120 and then finally a 119.6. And I wasn't pleased with any of those laps because the car would break up so bad on the out lap on low boost, and then on the actual lap it would be breaking up mid spool, so it's only in the middle range of things, which made no sense. was alright.
I think you did a 19 there.
Yeah, it was a 19.6. So anyway, we ended up with a 1:19.6 as the best time, which is 2/10 slower than last time. We still won the event. I should be happy about that. But the car is so good. Like, the cornering speeds were higher, everything was higher. The top speed on the back straight was higher, even with the car not running good, which shows that the aero is actually aeroing. So small issues cost us precious time, unfortunately. So on the very last session, I forgot to say, I just tried taking the laptop out and adding 20% fuel everywhere just to see if the breakup would stop. And then it felt better, but it was still breaking up, but I just kind of went for a lap just to see what would happen. And I lifted throttle, and then it felt like a dead cylinder. The engine just blew up. But it wasn't that. The flywheel came loose, or the pressure plate failed again, one of the straps. And that's again from forcing it on the outlaps and forcing it with the misfire and the jackhammering effect. It might not seem crazy violent on video, but the backfires are just bucking the whole car. And then, you know, it's that stress on the clutch and the springs and everything. I wouldn't be surprised if all the springs in the clutch disc are broken or something like that after that. But yeah, so the flywheel was loose, so we were just done for the day. But again, we still won. We got the 1:19.6, but you know, it's a sour taste in our mouth because the car really did have a record in it. It's just small issues just cost us more than a second, I'd say, seconds. So it's the way it goes. But anyway, the cause of the breakups. This is a weird cascade of problems that we've seen before. The alternator, well, which isn't in it right now. Anyway, the alternator would stop charging, which would cause the car to break up, which would cause huge backfires in the intake because, of course, the injectors are like 6 inches back, or more than that, like 8 inches back. So this whole plenum, the second plenum, is actually just fogged with fuel almost all the time, which makes for good atomization and good power. That's why I run it that way. But what happens is alternator voltage drops, so you know the spark goes all weird, everything goes all weird, and then you get huge backfires in the intake because it's fogged with fuel. So the intake cracks. So it's cracked again in that spot that I welded, and it blew out sealant from around the port. So I boost leak tested it before this and it was fine, and now it's not. So basically I think what happened is the alternator was starting to fail and then cracked the intake. And then that blew the map sensor hose off, the backfires in the intake. So we put it all back together, but the intake is still cracked. So when the intake is cracked, the map sensor can't read properly. Air is flowing in the wrong directions and all that, even with another alternator put in it. And then that's exactly what happened in 2022. Alternator wasn't charging, car was breaking up, and then we ended up with a broken intake manifold. Even after switching alternators out, it was still breaking up because the intake manifold is broken and I didn't notice. And then the flywheel came loose because the pressure plate failed from misfires. So literally the exact same sequence of events. So that's kind of what happened here. The alternator went, and I'll actually show you because it's sitting on the table here actually. The alternator didn't just stop charging like a normal alternator does. The case, like, you see that? The whole case is loose because the bolts vibrated out of it. So there's 2 left, but they're loose. So we lost the case bolts. And if you spin the rotor the right way, you could hear the rotor rubbing inside there. And because the rotor is rubbing, it shorted out this, what do you call it? Whatever this is on the alternator. It's the part of one of the windings. So basically the bolts vibrating out of this caused all of that. And also the exhaust manifold is cracked pretty good. If I can get it on video here. So yeah, misfires just ruins everything because the manifold is thin wall steel, the intake is thin wall aluminum. Everything's meant to be lightweight, but then it just can't take a bomb going off inside of them. Not good. All I gotta do here is fix everything, weld everything back together, maybe change the way I seal the intake, and then make sure the flywheel is on properly. And then I gotta check that main bearing because, again, the flywheel came loose, or the vibration at the clutch happened at like 8,500 RPM. So that main bearing is probably, yeah, not in good shape. So I'll have to look into that. Again, I got a spare engine. I haven't followed up with this engine, guys. I'm sorry, but it's nothing to follow up on. It's finished and just sitting there. So I might even just switch bottom ends or something and then rebuild the other one, because those rods, I've been revving it to like 9,000 and it's been years with those rods, so they're probably gonna break soon too. So anyway, now I'm just yapping, but that's the story of CTAC Motorsport. So I hate being a sore winner. Like, I won, but it doesn't feel like I won. Even Alex was saying this too. He's like, we won, but it doesn't feel like it because we went there to get the record. So it is what it is, but I mean, come on. It's not a real problem to have. We're not the guy who lost a wheel. Other guys lost engines. We just lost a second, so I'm just grateful that I have a machine that does like professional car lap times, which is insane, on used tires and a tired driver. So I'm gonna end this one there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you around soon with more Saab shenanigans.